I was not alone. Without a doubt, I could feel something around here. Even as I trotted as quietly as possible, it was becoming more apparent that there was something lurking in the darkness down here. Sitting in the canteen had only been hurting me. Something about the evidence of pony life, but absolutely no remains, was just downright freaky. That, and I kept anticipating to look up and see faces staring in through the windows. I couldn't stay here, not if anything knew where I was, and so I decided to keep moving. The more I looked, the higher the chances of finding stairs leading to a higher level. Up, always up, toward the surface, towards the sky. But right now, the stable seemed intent to reveal none of its staircases. Instead, a growing fear of being locked down here forever with drifting ghosts of the past was settling in. My mane itched and my skin crawled. Stopping in the middle of... where was I? Was the canteen back a corner and down the hall? Or wait, was it to the left or right back there? My heart was pumping hard enough for there to actually be a dull thumping in my one good ear. Every flicker of the pitbuck threatened to illuminate some pony's eerie form in the darkness ahead of me. I spun to look behind me on every other step, quickly turning again to check the way I'd come from. I did this multiple times if I heard something, a gurgle or tapping from nearby. Sometimes I turned so often and so fast I forgot which way I was meant to be looking in the first place. A humming picked up from above me, vibrating the entire endless corridor before wisps of white noise and static drifted down the hallways. I heard distant voices, unidentifiable and warped. Part of my mind tried to scream that it was just some poor slave activating the stable's kill switch again above me, but somehow it didn't quite stick hard enough to let the fear clenching my heart unwind. A PA system loudspeaker on the wall hissed dimly as I passed, like a broken gramophone spinning. 2 steps later, it cut for no apparent reason, plunging me once again in dead silence. Squeaking, my hoof almost tripped over something. I cantered to the side. My pitbuck held out in one shaky hoof at a red scooter, abandoned in the hallway, tipped on its side. As rusty as the walls, it looked to have almost fallen apart on the minor impact with my pitbuck leg. Glancing around for anything else, I found nothing but a fallen bell from the scooter. Not designed for hooves to pick up, its small size had almost fallen between the 2 floor panels. Without really knowing why, I leant down and bit it, storing it in one small leg pocket. Okay, perhaps I tried it once. Bing bing! Packing it away safely, I lifted my head up again. This corridor really did just go on forever. Turn after turn. The same modular 10 feet every single time. A glint in the darkness made me perk up. I might have been fearful, but anything in this void was a thankful respite. Breaking into what kind of slow gallop I could, I aimed for it, seeing my pitbuck light reflected in the thick murky glass. Sloshing through some low water, running down the hallway and kicking aside little metal cylinders on the floor, I threw myself against the glass, staring in. What was it? A way out? It was a canteen with a dirty plate covered in red tomato sauce, sitting on a familiar table in front of me. Every muscle seemed to wither and die as I slumped against the glass, banging my head on it at the sheer fruitlessness of my efforts to make progress down in the dark. Cramped corridors and thick air muddied my perception. Had I really just spent the last... hour? Was it an hour? Oh, goddesses. Thumping my hoof on the glass, I muttered nothings to myself. I wanted a direction. I'd always had one, however vague it had become. But down here, it was just endless trotting in a state of quickly fading trust for Glimmerlight to find me. No pony had ever stuck to their word with me. Why would this be any different? I hadn't even properly been struck with anxiety over the dead past in here, other than my sadness at the canteen, and already I was cracking. Guess friends weren't the big help that I'd hoped they might be. My head bumped once again on the glass. Sighing, I opened my eyes to stare inside. Maybe I could just hide under a table. There was a shape behind the counter. Every muscle and liter of blood in my entire body froze on the spot. Like in some stupid reaction to freeze and hope I wasn't spotted, I didn't even blink as fearful tears burned my eyes. Movement. Not a defined form. Just occasional edges and shifting silhouettes as something moved around. Sound floated through the door, around the corner that led into the canteen.
Get into the lower levels! They're down there! Put any pony who can't fight in the room safely! Get out of the canteen, every pony! Get out! Get out! They're trying to! They're down there! Put any pony who can't fight in the room safely!
It was interspersed by a hazed static and electronic screaming at low volume behind the words. The shape flowed lazily back and forth before a distinctly pony-shaped head finally turned towards me and then darted into thicker shadow before disappearing entirely. The sounds clicked and fell silent. What the hell? Eventually, my muscles stiffly regained the power of movement. I wanted to run, to hide. But where? I could run for hours down here and just, well, who knew what I'd find? Turning, I quickly cantered inside the canteen again. If that thing had left it, then at least it was the one place I knew it wasn't. But I just couldn't scrub the sight of that head turning slowly toward me from my mind. It had been featureless, just a shade in the shadows. I couldn't help it. I dived under the tables and curled into a ball. Fear stopped me from even whimpering out of a deadly thought of it returning. My eyes wouldn't close. What if I opened them and it was right there in front of me? Simply staring at the floor counters before me, the unceasing darkness hid everything not 2 feet from my head, and the utterly silent ambience, other than the occasional creepy vibration passing through, was just getting to me. The thought of the mall was like a homecoming. I wanted my pigsty with all the stupid Pinky music in the air to remind me that she was still watching me forever. I even wished, not for the first time, that I were back in Slit's factory. Even the toxic atmosphere in there was preferable to the suffocating lack of space down here. But no, I couldn't get back to them. I'd tried to trot off and just ended up back here. I was just going to curl into a ball and be as unnoticeable as possible until some pony came around, hopefully before I died of hunger. Dying of hunger while lying pathetically on the floor of a canteen, dozens of feet underground in the pitch dark of a place meant to sustain ponies. Sometimes there was no end to the irony of my life. Staring for longer still, something caught my eye. On the ground was an audio recorder. I knew that hadn't been there before. Crawling out, I grabbed it. To hell with being afraid of the past. I needed sound. Something. Anything. Some source of sensory input to stop my mind from becoming as enclosed as the stable around me before it drove me insane. Who knew? Perhaps they would be telling where to go? Jamming it into my pit buck, I noticed the only remaining button was the play button. The stop button lay nearby on the ground, broken and unusable. If I started this playback, there was no stopping it. I hesitated for a few seconds before pushing it. The static pierced into my ears, echoing around off the metal walls. Squirming and yelping out loud, I clutched my ear as the recorder's volume setting spiked. Eyes watering, I tried to hold my right ear shut and protect it as best I could until the stabbing pains went away from my head.
Right, it's running. You ready, Runner Bean? This is it. Sure thing, Sculpty. We got the weapons from the armory all here. They won't have anything, so hopefully this'll be pretty easy. Just gallop in, point a few guns, get them to stop all the weapon making, right? Yeah, no blood. But we don't have a choice.
There was an unnatural pause.
The audio log can't hear you if you nod, Bean. We need this stored. We need proof for future generations in here to prove we did this right. That we didn't kill any pony. They've gone too far, taking all the damn stable apart to fix things that didn't need fixing. The PA system glitches and draining of inordinate amounts of power that we need for hot water and lighting are just too much. They're doing something. The Overmare keeps telling us not to worry, but they wouldn't keep it secret if it weren't anything big. We have a right to know, and we need to find out. You gonna narrate this entire thing? Context, my friend. Context. People must know why we did this, as much as what happened. We must survive down here, and secrets do not permit that. Not when it is something that could endanger our stable. Our children need this of us, their keepers, to ensure their survival. That is what the stables were for. That is why Stable Tech built them. Now these Ministry of Arcane Science lot come in, usurp our authority, and seek to ruin the safety with their meddling and research. This record is that future stable generations will understand.
Hey, Sculpty, the others are waiting. Every pony on the top levels is heading down to their rooms below, out of the way. We need to move. Now.
All right, I'll be 2 seconds.
His voice became lower. Clutching the recorder closely, my ear ringing and feeling swollen inside, I glanced around me at the quiet canteen. Just what had those ministry scientists done to the stable to cause all this? How messed up were those ponies to make such technology?
One of the foals managed to creep through an air duct last week. A filly called Snowy Gust. She got into the science areas on a whim somehow. Only thing is, when they sent her back out, she couldn't remember a damn thing. Why would you need to wipe the memory of a child? That little filly would never have understood any of that stuff. They need to be stopped. I can't watch the foals I teach go through this sort of horror. You don't mess with memories. It never works.
Hey, Sculpty dude, come on!
I heard a scuffling, a click of some weapons, and the sound of Sandy Sculpt trotting.
Right. Thank you all for meeting us here so quick. They watch the atrium, but this canteen should be pretty safe till we get close enough. We don't need them locking us out.
Wait, the canteen!
Well, you lead the way, Sandy. You're the one recording this for whatever reasons. We'll get down there, and we'll get back up as soon as we can get to the atrium to negotiate once we've made sure it's made safe. Lead on.
My heart leapt. If I just paid careful attention to their sounds, perhaps I could follow the recording by listening for turns? I needed to get out of this void-black area of the stable. They could be my only hope. Overcoming my fears had to be done. I needed to do it sometime, to be able to stand up strong if I were to ever escape.
All right, every pony ready? No stopping now. It's make or break for us.
Right! We're in!
Let's do this!
Yeah! With you.
Right behind you.